Welcome back to my channel. Welcome back to Wednesday's Top 5. In today's video, I will have the Goodreads group that I'm a part of linked down below. So if you are a content creator or you want to be, then you can join this group, and it has ideas for every single week. And you just come together on Wednesdays, you post something, as we are doing right now. And the cool thing about these videos for me is that I don't edit them. So if I get chatty, then you guys get to suffer or just click through. But in today's Wednesday's Top 5, we are talking about our 5 favorite characters in literature, and this was so hard for me to limit it down to 5, but I did that. I realized that I like reading about characters that have a lot of character growth and that go through a lot. So the one that didn't quite make it, that would have been, should have been, could have been on this list is Scout from To Kill a Mockingbird by Harper Lee. But I feel like I've been recommending this book to you in every single top 5 video, so I didn't want to do that. So Scout is not on this list, but she is on this list. I'm not really going to pitch these books to you this time. I'm just going to tell you the character that I'm recommending to you and maybe briefly why. The first one is Scarlet Clark from They Never Learn by Lane Fargo. Scarlet is a college professor who is also a serial killer. What else do you need? She is seeking revenge. The next one is Una from Una Out of Order by Margarita Montemor. Ugh. I'm gonna not even lie to you. At first I didn't love Una. But you follow Una as she goes through these different ages. So on her 19th birthday, she wakes up and she's actually 52. And there are people in her life that know that she kind of lives her life out of order. But most people don't know. And she leaves clues for herself to kind of know what's gonna happen, but she also doesn't want to spoil her entire life to herself. It's a very complicated book, but I just loved the time that I got to spend with Una. I saw her character growth, and I just saw in this confusing mess of a life. One of the big things that I loved about this was that, like, would you take the chance? Would you do something even if you knew that it ended terribly? Like, for instance, Una meets her husband for the first time when they're going through a divorce. And it's like a terrible year for her. Like, everything seems to be going wrong. And she's just like, I hate this guy. I'm never gonna talk to him. So, like, 2 years later, she travels around at different ages. So, like, in real time, 2 years later, she meets her husband for the first time because she's, like, 25 now. And she's just like, she was so angry at him when they were going through the divorce, and she was just like, I'm never gonna speak to him again. But now she meets him, and she has to make the choice of talking to him even though she knows that it's gonna end in heartbreak, or just moving on with her life and pretending that she never met him, that he never meant anything to her. And it was just so beautiful. And I loved following Una in her mind, because for at least at the very beginning of the book, she reminds me a lot of myself, because she's just like, she doesn't really believe in herself. And like, I've come a long way and I believe in myself more than I ever have in my life, but it took me a long time to get here. And I just saw that in Una. She echoed that to me. Okay, then this book, oh my gosh. P.S. I Love You by Cecilia Ahern. My favorite character is not Holly, although like I love Holly, but Jerry. This is all about the Jerry love, because in P.S. I Love You, Holly loses her husband, Jerry, to cancer. And he knows that he's sick, and he decides to leave Holly these letters that he has delivered in mysterious ways after he dies. And I just felt like he cared so much. And you could tell by the way that he wrote those letters. It wasn't just like, oh, like a quick little letter. It was like a very impactful letter. It was just like, oh, you're gonna do this. And then Holly's like, no, I'm not. And he's just like, yes, you are. Stop rolling your eyes at me. Even though he's dead. And like, I loved the relationship that they had, and you could see it even though he's not there, he was there. I don't know if that makes sense or not, but Jerry, for sure. Okay, then this one, these all absolutely broke my heart except for They Never Learn, because that's a thriller. Not that thrillers can't be emotional. I mean, they can, but that one isn't. Not super. So, in The Cabin at the End of the World by Paul Tremblay, my favorite horror of all time, Win. Like, Win is my... oh my gosh. She's like 7, I believe. And she's just very kind. She's very kind. And she's like curious about the world, and she's playing outside, and her and her dads went to this cabin to get like a little vacation. And she decides to go play out in the yard, and you know, she's just a kid. She's just playing and having a good time, and then this man that she doesn't know kind of starts creeping into the woods, like, or from the woods to the cabin, and she thinks it's weird, so she notices right away. And then he's just like kind of talking to her, telling her that he needs her parents, and then things escalate really quickly because there's more people, and it seems like a home invasion, and they're basically telling the entire family that they need to make a decision. They don't want to, but they have to, or the world is going to end. and Win is obviously scared because she's 7 years old, and that's a terrifying situation to be in. But I fell in love with this book because I fell in love with Win, and this was a heartbreaking horror novel, but Win all the way. I love her. Like, I don't know how you can read The Cabin at the End of the World and not fall in love with Win. Like, ugh. Or maybe it's just the teacher in me, and I really like to read. I really like kids. I don't know. I don't like reading books about kids, like middle grade books, all that often. Although my last favorite character is in a middle grade book. So, Where the Red Fern Grows by Wilson Rawls. Favorite book of all time. All-time favorite book. Now, I know what you're thinking. If you are familiar with this book, then you're going to be like, oh, Billy's your favorite character. You would be wrong. I adore Billy. Like, he is amazing. But no one in this book, not even Little Anne, and like, oh, Little Anne is such a puppy. She just acts like a big puppy that's never gonna grow up, and she's your best friend, but no one beats Old Dan, because Old Dan would literally, I'm just guessing here, but I think he would take a bullet for you if you have his love. He is loyal to a fault, and he would do anything for Billy. And like, if you want to read the best friendship book, like the best book about friendship, then you have to read about Little Anne, Old Dan, and Billy, because this trio of friends is just so perfect. There is nothing like it. This book is perfection. And the bond that Billy and Old Dan and Little Anne have is just so good. And again, I'm crying because all I do is read books that make me cry, and then I cry about them when I talk about them. So at least you know that, like, I'm being for real when I'm crying about this book, about how much I love it. But I hope you enjoyed this video. This was my top 5 favorite characters of all time. It was so hard to pick only 5. Don't forget to smash that like button and subscribe to my channel if you're new around here.